What's up? What's up? Hello, hello. Good evening. Good day to all of you. New week, new things. Nothing but positivity and great vibes ahead for all of you who are listening. It's BT back with another podcast, deciding to make up for my missed podcast on yesterday with sports. I'm not going to lie to you. From what I'm looking at and from what I've been able to observe, I have quite a bit of information to share. So I'm not going to hold you long. I'm not going to bore you half to death with the long spiel in the intro. We're just going to jump right into this and let it be what it's going to be. The first topic, we briefly went into this discussion, but it looks as though it's still a lingering topic and it's a thing that is still getting some attention from time to time. For some reason, the league is very worried, the league being the NBA, that LeBron James is not coachable. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can look at this. You can either see it as, well, LeBron doesn't need to be coached because he kind of knows how to play. But you also can look at it as, is he a benefit to a team? Or dare I say it, is he a cancer to a team? Pat, I really... And I'm going to say this because I initially did my podcast and I talked about this, but I didn't really chip at this when I first presented my post. I feel like there are certain coaches for certain players. And here's what I mean when I say that. Prime example. And this won't happen, so there's no need in us getting excited. If Phil Jackson decided to come from the box and come down on the floor and coach, mark my words, LeBron will be on a plane to that city the next day. So in this case, if it was in New York, he's more than likely going to be in New York. Carmelo will take his pay cut and LeBron will be in New York. I honestly feel like LeBron would win a ring with Phil, but then the factor in the fight of that is the Phil we see now or know about now is not the Phil who was coaching the Lakers or coaching the Bulls or playing for the Knicks. He went back to manage the Knicks because that is a place where he did win a championship. So it's only fitting for him to mainly give back. But we're going to put all of that aside and not disregard the elephant in the room, which is King James is a very talented player, and I don't really think this is going to be this is unfair to him, but it's also the truth. Tyronn Lue was put in a very, very, very hot seat because one of two things can happen at the end of the season. Either the Cavs can have a good season, possibly win the championship, and Lue still has his job, or, and this is what I really feel like is going to happen, they can get to the finals again, possibly be in a rematch with Golden State. And as long it's going to come down to if they have their full force. If Cleveland comes in with their full force, you can forget it. But if all of those pieces aren't there that they have now, it's going to be a repeat of last year. Just a little worse because now the team, the Golden State team this year is they're built and they're ready to play. I mean, anytime you can beat the Spurs the way they did, it unbearable and unbelievable are the first words that came to my mind. So I don't know if he's really per se a coach killer. I think it's more so coaches. It's almost like personalities. When you work with someone or you're involved with someone, your personality has to be able to blend or mesh with the personality of whom you're dealing with. Dare we acknowledge it or realize it? Some people we just don't mesh with or just don't blend in with. You have to be able to acknowledge that and really look at that to understand it for what it's worth. Kind of spinning it to the whole Johnny Manziel story. If Johnny Manziel doesn't get along with the new coach, one of two things will happen. Either he's not going to get any time or he's going to be sent to another team. And as far as the Browns are concerned, they're used to having new quarterbacks anyway because they haven't kept a solid quarterback in the backfield in over a decade, probably longer than that. So I just want you to think about that and really look at that as how LeBron plays over these next few games and how this season really comes along, because it can either be the best idea in the world that Tyronn Lue is running the team with this quote unquote high motor, high powered offense, or it could just be bad timing. So just let it play out, see what happens. At the most, or at the least, Lue can at least explore his options and make himself a beneficial coach to another team if Cleveland lets him go. Because I really don't know if he was put onto the best position at the time of everything going the way it has. And speaking on Tyronn Lue for that matter, it's going to kind of push me into my next topic, which is about the snubbing of our infamous Kyrie Love and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. I don't know why I wanted to make two players one person. Thank goodness I got that situated. But Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love are not going to the All-Star game this year. First thing that was brought up is, how does a team with the best record in the Eastern Conference only have one All-Star going to the All-Star game? Love has been playing, but he hasn't really been playing with like any solid or dominant statistics. And Kyrie Irving was hurt a good amount of the season, so we really are starting to see him play now. But it's been LeBron's team. Anybody who hears me say this, or anybody who knows me when I go into this topic, LeBron James has always generated and created a stand-around offense. It's not going to change. It will never change. And unless fans or players really acknowledge and see that for what it's worth, you kind of almost got to take it as is. So I don't really see that snub or that him not making it, or those two guys not making it, being the worst thing in the world. So they have plenty of time. As a matter of fact, Irvin played last year, and I think Kevin Love last played in an All-Star game when he was in Minnesota. So his time is coming. It's just a matter of when and how well he can fit into Cleveland's offense. So my next topic I have is about the All-Star reserves. Two guys that they got right out of everybody else. No knock against any of the other guys who did make it, but Andre Drummond and DeMarcus Cousins should have been starting. And we all know why they didn't start, but we all understand how the new balloting changes things up. Meaning that there's now a no center zone, aka we basically want you to have 3 forwards and 2 guards. So sometimes it works out, other times it doesn't. But I think in so many words and in so many ways, they got it as right as they could. They were able to get in, which I think was excellent. Isaiah Thomas got his first nod. Damian Lillard was the biggest. To me, Damian Lillard was a huge snub. And a shocking fact that was presented on NBA TV and on the NBA News and on the sports wires is that this is going to be the first year since 1997 that both Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki will not be in an All-Star game. Let that sink in for a second and think about how long we've been seeing one of those guys, if not both of them, in an All-Star game. So that's going to be a huge adjustment. And this year, because it's only fitting since both of the guys are retiring, Kobe's playing, but Garnett's not playing. And it's understandable because, dare I say it, the Timberwolves do have the second worst record in the league. Third worst, because you have Philadelphia and you have the Phoenix Suns. And I'm going to get into Phoenix in just a bit, but I just want to talk about it's been a rough season for a lot of these teams, and Minnesota's no exception. So Garnett, even though he may not be making an All-Star game, he's probably going to make an appearance or be involved in some manner. We never know. We'll find out, when it comes. So the Pro Bowl was yesterday, and unfortunately, I kind of glimpsed at it from time to time, but I really didn't watch it. From what I gathered, Russell Wilson was the MVP. Team Irvin won against Team Rice 49-27. I know Russell had 3 touchdowns. He had a pretty solid stat line for the amount of time that he played. But I don't want to really get into that because it's just sad because the Pro Bowl is so boring and it's so much time consumption behind it. It's not as enjoyable as it used to be, and then more than anything, they just have it there as a space holder before the actual Super Bowl. Because usually it was done after the Super Bowl, but they changed it, and once they changed it to where it was done before, what happens then is, if you're playing in the Super Bowl, then there's no point you playing in the Pro Bowl. And then in hindsight, when it was done the other way around, guys who were starting or that were meant to play who played in the Super Bowl would end up not going to the Pro Bowl because they would say, I'm not playing in the Pro Bowl because I don't want to. I'm just not going to do it. Perfect example. And you notice, I think they honestly just didn't even vote him in this year because of it. Tom Brady didn't play. Tom Brady never plays in a Pro Bowl. I don't remember the last time he played in one. He may have played in like early in his career, but lately, all he's thinking about is I'm trying to rehab, get my life together so I can be ready for next season so we can win at least 6 games. And I only say at least 6 games because they do what no other team in the NFL hardly does. And that's win 6 games in their own division. Not many teams do that. I mean, even with Carolina having a good season this year, our one loss this year was against Atlanta in our own division. So just keep an eye on that. And anybody who knows me knows how I am about the Patriots in their mediocre division. I feel like something is going to cause me to get more unfiltered with these. Can't tell what it is, but I really know it's coming. Just a matter of when and how I get into that zone of getting those accomplished. But the next guy or the next story that I'm going to break down is Ben Simmons has been playing out of his mind. Let's face it, LSU is not the best team in college basketball, but as an added bonus, they have one of the best players on their team. I feel like I don't want to do this. I hope it's not heard in the background. If it is, I might turn it off. Yeah, you can hear that, and I don't like that. That's my OCD kicking in high gear. So Ben Simmons has been playing very good basketball. He is a very dominant guy at his position. And the sad part is he still has room to grow as far as his basketball IQ. Because I'll tell you now, his basketball IQ is not perfect, but he has those spaces and those gaps to learn how to become a better player, whether it's going to be a forward, a slashing 3. Just the only thing that I really feel like is going to hurt him, he can't shoot worth a lick. And if you really look at him for what it's worth, that's not what he's on the floor to do. He's on the floor to regulate and place that right guy in the right position to get him the right basket. And that's fine. LSU, it works for them, but the problem with them is they just don't have the scoring willpower, let alone the ways of being able to compete with different teams in the SEC. Which goes into my next topic of my favorite basketball team, who has been playing like my favorite, most pathetic team this year. And that's the Kentucky Wildcats, who have literally been struggling to get any type of worthwhile wins this year because they're spending more time trying to just play instead of playing to win and playing as a team. And it shows in the way that they play. And I really just don't understand how this works with college basketball lately. Teams think that excuse me. Teams think that because they have the best recruitment class and that everybody gets on the floor, we're all going to win and we're going to all play together and just win games. These guys were ranked when they played LSU, and LSU literally embarrassed them because they didn't come into the game with a legit teamwork plan. Coach Cal is going to coach you to win and coach you to do the right things. But it comes down to you actually doing the right things when they count. And that's the part that they, I think, are missing or have just ignored or not paid any full attention to. Sorry. That was a little OCD. I'm over here just like trying to do stuff to just keep my brain occupied, because this topic is just, I don't know, Kentucky just plays so weird, but hey, that's their thing. They do what they do, and they play the way they love. So, and that also runs into my next topic, which was the Big 12 SEC mid matchups. I want to talk about this because it was kind of odd to me, because I guess this is my first year, I guess, paying it any attention, but it looks as though they've added this in as a unique situation, and it works, but it also puts some teams in places that they just aren't really suitable for. Like, you had Kansas playing Kentucky in Kansas, and Kentucky was not ready for Kansas at all. It showed in the way they played. The LSU Oklahoma game, I caught highlights of that, and I'm gonna admit something, and I thought it was why LSU was gonna hurt themselves. LSU can get a lead, but it's not about getting a lead, it's about holding a lead. Anybody who watches basketball, it's not really the case with football, but in basketball, it's really about momentum and runs. There are a lot of teams who can go on a 10-0 run and score. They'll score 10 points and then turn right back around and give up 20. And you're like, wait, you really don't understand that you got to actually play defense as you're scoring? You just say, okay, we're going to just play and score these points, and then afterward, all right, you know what, we ain't got to play defense because we'll let them score and just kind of make it an even game. So it's a lot of one-on-one. It's more one-on-one / AAU basketball in the in college basketball, from what I've observed. Next topic, the infamous rivalry game that is not scheduled until February the 17th. I think their first game, I'm assuming, was canceled or snowed in, or is going to be rescheduled. I'm not sure, because usually they play earlier than this, but from what I'm seeing, it looks as though it's actually their first game is on February the 17th, and it's Duke and UNC. Now, North Carolina has been playing solid basketball. They have won key games. They blew a few games here and there, but they've been in that solid position of right now earning their keep as being a number 2 seed. Duke, the struggles are real. And here's why. Brandon Ingram is going to probably be a number 2 or number 3 pick in next year's draft. He's more focused on the NBA than he is on college basketball right now. You just got to take it for what it is. If you're a fan of the game, okay, let me go back. If you're a fan of Duke, don't be offended by what I'm about to say. If you are going to be upset, then just skip through like the next 20 or 30 seconds, I guess. Coach K can recruit, but the guys he has to understand, you won the championship last year, but you got to play like you want to win a championship again this year. And they missed that part. There's really no genuine leadership from anybody. One of the guys, I'm not sure if he's come back, but he's been out injured most of the year. And not having that true leadership as far as a junior or a senior who's like, hey, let's get together, let's get this under control. That's a starter. It affects your team in more ways than a few. And we're seeing that firsthand with Duke. So it's gonna, not to be funny, they're gonna make the NCAA tournament. Why? Because they're Duke. A few years ago, when Nerlens Noel was the man, you had it in a much different situation where it was Kentucky just did not have it that year, and Kentucky literally was having a bad season to the point where they got knocked out in the NIT. Which I found it to be the worst insult as far as calling it the not in tournament or whatever. All right, so now I'm going to kind of blend two topics in because I'm getting close to the end of what I have written, and I had a lot of topics, and I hope you all are still tuning in and have been enjoying what I've discussed and what I've shared with you all so far. My next topic is. We're less than a week away from the Super Bowl, as well as a week away from one of the quote unquote most entertaining players having too much fun. And there's some big controversy all of a sudden where an athlete isn't allowed to have fun because now he's taking away from the primary purpose of playing the game. It's not classy. Other players can do double checks with their, you can do your double checks and you can spike the ball, into the crowd. This guy gives a football to a kid in the arena every night. I'm sorry, in the stadium, wherever he plays, anytime they score, he gives a football to the kids. Or any of the players at Orange Carolina gives a football to the kids. He had a special set of cleats worn with all of his teammates' names and numbers on them. It still is, and I feel like I've talked about this subject before, but I'm going to say it again. It still bothers me and confuses me that there's such a big uproar about what a person does, but it still comes down to the same point. If you keep him out of the end zone, or if you keep him from getting first downs, he wouldn't do this. So is that the other team's fault? Or it's his fault because he's just not supposed to score? Let me just not score and not try to win when that's the purpose of you playing the game. You play to win the game. Hello? Herman, that was my man. Like, you, the best is all I can say. If you don't understand that reference, you'd have to go back and literally just put it in YouTube. You play to win the game, and you'll get why that's so big. Didn't really need to explain it, but some people might be new to the block, so I'm just making it an awareness thing. So I feel like Cam is going to play his game. Cam is probably going to dab 2 or 3 times on a few touchdowns. If they win the Super Bowl, I mean, I don't want to be cocky and say when we win the Super Bowl, but if we win the Super Bowl, I really feel like they're going to do a team photo of everybody dabbing. I just expect it. Expect it, accept it, acknowledge it, embrace it. That's the best thing I can tell you without being too obvious. So there's that story. I mean, I'm not really trying to get at a whole lot of attention, but I just wanted to at least discuss it or get into how absurd it is and how much out of control it's been, where it's like this big worry and big uproar of, oh my God, this guy's playing and he's doing all this stuff and he's having way too much fun and he's an embarrassment to the league and he's just doing stuff that doesn't make sense. We break down everything that some people do, but we don't break down things that other people do. And I'm not even basing this on a black and white thing. I really base it on just primary culture and just observation of what we see. We pick up on what we want to pick up when we find it to be beneficial to pick up. And that's as direct and as simple as I can say it. All right, so this is going to be my last and final topic, and I really didn't want to do this topic, but because I read it today and I've been kind of keeping up with it a little bit, I'm just like, I might as well just throw it in there just to kind of have a little bit of fun. But the latest news is that the Phoenix Suns have let Jeff Hornacek go. Now, I believe they've only won 14 or 15 games this year. So they haven't really been having the greatest of seasons. So as a part of the process and protocol, they claimed they were giving him a second chance to get his season together this year, because the first year he coached, they were close to getting in the playoffs. The second year they were under 500, didn't make the playoffs. So this season, right before the All-Star break, they decided to let him go. The letting him go part, hey, I've seen it so much in the NBA. I guess giving it attention or acknowledging it doesn't even faze me anymore. I think what I'm stuck on or what I'm confused about is, are they putting another coach in a position to watch them fail? Number one, I didn't even know this guy was an assistant coach. Number two, it made sense a little bit because I did start to realize that he's not really he wasn't on anybody's team for a while. But Earl Watson is now going to be the assistant. He is now the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. And the part that why I'm sharing this and why it makes me laugh a little bit is because I recall looking at the photo that they got of him on Facebook or on Bleacher Report. And it was like, yay, I got the job. Thanks for setting me up for success. I'm going to come in and be a great coach and not cause any problems or rift with anybody because I want to keep my job for at least next season. And it just doesn't feel right. They're not going to win enough games to get back into the playoff hunt anytime soon. It also factors in if they don't bring anybody in that's going to bring a winning formula as far as players or personnel, it still doesn't matter. So all of those things were not observed or acknowledged or pieced together with all of this. And I just don't know how it's going to go. I really and honestly just hope that he does not get put in a position where he loses his job for something he didn't even do. I don't know. I just don't have a lot to say about it. And every time I think about coaches who got put in positions that look like it made sense and it ended up not going well, I think back to Avery Johnson. The Brooklyn Nets had just gotten established as being the Brooklyn Nets. They bring in Avery Johnson. He's bringing in a winning formula. It's a good chance we're going to win. They won games. They went to the playoffs. Knocked out the first round one of his seasons. I think it was his second year, and they decided to let him go. Sad part about it, and what I don't understand, is he hasn't been coaching a team since. But yet, Byron Scott is still coaching the LA Lakers. Byron Scott is not a coach. I could do the coaching carousel all night. That's probably going to be a good podcast by itself, but I'll have to kind of do a little bit of news and research and break down some stuff. So I truly and honestly hope that you all enjoyed listening. And I know these are becoming more improv, and I've literally been getting a better flow with it. My friends have been providing a lot of feedback, and trust me, if you all think I'm not listening to what you all tell me, I listen. I don't feel as though I used the infamous as much, and if I did, I'll go back and listen, because that's one thing that doing these podcasts, that's the one thing I like too. I can always go back and listen to see, was I as good as I claimed to be, or was I just doing it just to kind of go through the motions? Like, all right, I'm up here, I'm doing a podcast, I'm going to do this, and I enjoyed it, and this is all I got to do. Yeah, that just happened. But in all fairness, I just want to enjoy and let life be what it's going to be and make it all just simple. And that's mainly what I'm about for my listeners. So, as always, continue tuning in. Make the most of what life has to offer. If you have not done so already, be sure to follow me on social media in between Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's Bright82 on all three. I will tell you all in advance that this year I am doing my infamous Black History Month information or education, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. This year I'm doing Black history from the musical aspect. So I'm breaking down a lot of musicians or individuals who have been hands-on with the musical scene. And I did Muddy Waters today. So that was a fun one, but I plan to do plenty more this month, because I really and truly think there's always a way to learn and a way to open your mind and enhance your brain. So until next time, this is BT signing out. Y'all take it easy. Peace.